the swamp dwellers were mainly left to their own, spiritually, until the arrival of evangelist Isham Gerd. The population, an amalgamation of French, freed slaves, Germans, Haitians, Irish, and Spanish, had brought with them their own religions and customs. In addition to this, the community was already served by the presence of 2 churches, though one of which was a ruin. Gerd was a committed evangelical who came to know Puerto Rico through his travels to minister at Fort Carmick towards the end of the Civil War. He became curiously enamored with the people he found, finding them lacking in the basic and essential spirituality he considered taken for granted elsewhere in the United States. Several trips to the area made him resolute in his endeavor to save the souls of those who would otherwise be damned. Gerd was a gifted and charismatic preacher and had soon built a large following amongst the local people, but he needed a church to house the congregation. An account from the time conflates him with a sense of hope, said to be as foreign a sentimentality amongst the men here as literacy. He inspired acts of alms. People gave him what they had. Fundraising missions in New Orleans raised more capital when city folk were made aware that the deplorable conditions endured by their southern neighbors. Gerd purchased land from the dwindling Blanchette estate, but ran into opposition from the widow once she understood his intentions. Despite this, in 1870, Gerd's church was built, named Healing Waters for the bios it stood amongst. Gerd became renowned as minister. The populace spoke of Gerd as having overcome the widow's curse. Gerd in private dismissed any such notion, but declared publicly that God's will was stronger than an old crone's curse. There was a newfound sense of community amongst the townspeople in their weekly congregation. This feeling did not last. While Gerd had an initial momentum, by the end of the decade this tapered to a trickle. As he entered old age, he became a shadow of his former self. Over time, his sermons turned to external dangers facing the community. Industry as it devastated once serene forests, hurricanes as they deluged the lands. Then he turned to the sins of his congregation: greed, pride, gluttony, and other cardinal sins. He became obsessed with sin, the demons that lurked within, and the fire and brimstone awaiting everyone. His following dwindled to only the most devout and loyal. He sealed himself away from the outside world. Many speculated as to what had caused his decline, suggesting that he had come to regret the money he had invested and the isolation of the swamp. Some wondered if he had made a move to escape a dark past, one that had caught up with him. Others believed that the crone's curse had gotten the better of him in some unseen and invisible way. A few put it down as just being something in the water.